Hi and welcome to another tutorial from Blender Insight, and this time I will do a simple weave pattern. So we start right away and we need a UV, so I start with the texture coordinate, Shift A, input, and here we can use the texture coordinate. And we would like this pattern to be scalable, so we add a scale, so I drag from a UV and write scale, and then we have vector met scale. And it's longer in this direction compared to this direction, so then I also need a multiply. So I copy this one, Shift D, and change it to a multiply. And here we can put in 1 in the top and 2 here. Right now we can't see so much, it's just that it's 0 here and 5 here, and it's 0 here and it's 10 here, since we multiply with 2 for the Y direction. So to divide this into small parts that we then later on can use for our wave pattern, we then add a fraction. So I can copy this by pressing Shift D and change it into fraction. So let's see if we can find it. Here we have it. And we can change the scale to like 5, and then we can see here that you get it in a good way here with small parts. Now I would like this part to be offset, so to do that we can use floor, because then we change this gradient into singular integers. So that means that this complete part will be 0, this will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and so on. And you will see how that works. So I drag from the multiply and write floor. And then we have it here, and if I connect that to the surface, you can now see that this has the same value, then comes this with some value, and so on. So this is 0, 1, 2, 3. And I would like every second row to be offset. So that means that I separate the vector into x, y, z. So I drag here and write separate x, y, z. And I can use the y, because then you can see it's in this direction, and I would like every second row to be black and every second row to be white. And to make that, the quickest way is to use a modular. So I drag from this and then I write modular here, and you can find floored modular, which works fine in this case. And if I put that 2, you can now see that every second row will be black, white, black, white, black, white, exactly as I wanted to. Then I would like this to be offset for this here, so I need to have an add here. So I can take the fraction, Shift D, and just change it to add. But what I would like to add here is the offset in the x direction. And it should not be 0, 1, it should just be like a half. So I will multiply this first. So Shift D and multiply and put this to like 0.5. And then I need to combine x, y, z to be able to put it in the correct way in my add here. So I press Shift A again, go to converter, and here we have the combine x, y, z. And I would like this to go to the x direction, and then put this into the add. And if I now look at the output here, you can see that we have got the offset. So now everything is finished when it comes to offset. Now we should make the pattern, and to make the pattern I would like this little point here on each part to go to the center, and that we can do with the subtract and multiply. I don't know if you've seen my 5-minute lessons, but I go through all of these things in that one. So if you want to learn more about how you do the offset or changing points and so on, you can also look in my video series about materials. That is, I think it's 82 or 83 chapters right now, so you have a lot to look into. But anyway, what we should use now is a subtract and a multiply. So I can copy this one by pressing Shift D, and then I change subtract to 0.5, and I put this also to 0.5, and then you can see that we get black in the center, and the problem right now is that it's too weak. It's 0.5 and negative 0.5, and I would like this to be negative 1, positive 1, so I multiply it by 2. So Shift D again and multiply and change those to 2. And now I have negative 1, positive 1. And the only thing I do now is that I would like this to be absolute, which means that then we will have a positive 1 here and a positive 1 here, and that means that we then have similar values in all the edges, and that is exactly what we need to make this look good. So to do that, we add an absolute. So Shift D and select absolute. So now it starts to look good here, but to make it more white and black instead of this UV, we separate the XYZ so we can play with these values. So Shift A, converter, separate XYZ like this. And if I now take the X to the surface, you have the wave pattern. So not so complicated, but still a few things to have in mind here. So one of these is then that this part here is then a really good offset thing. So if you want to move something every second row with this, then you just take the floor, separate floored, multiply, and then put in it in the add here. And if you want to go to the other direction, then use X here instead, of course, and you put it into Y here. So then you get in the other direction, but then you need to see it in the Y direction here as well. So that is one of the things here to take back after the lesson. I can go back and change this to X here. And the other thing is that using an absolute will then make the negative go away, so you get positive on both directions, and then you get this mirror thing. And that is really good to use in so many cases, because you can use it here, you can use it when you do like a wallpaper or everything that should be symmetrical. Then this thing here where you subtract, multiply, and then do an absolute will work wonders for you. Okay, you can of course color this as well. It's just to add a color ramp here, or if you so want mixed color, it's up to you. So converter, color ramp like this, can put in that. You can change this to some lighter gray and can change this to yellow or something, so we get it more like this. Or you can use mixed color, it will be the same result. So Shift A, color, mix color like this, put the X into the factor, take this to the result, and change this one to the darker, and change this one to the yellow part, so to say. So almost the same thing. So it's up to you how you would like to do it. But here is how you do the very simple weave pattern. We can build on this and do more advanced stuff later on. But now you have something. And hopefully you liked it, and I'll see you in the next lesson. Bye for now.